You should be open to a clean page in your vocabulary notebook in the reading section. And at the top of your clean page, go ahead and write the title of this chapter, which is Our National Parks, and then today's date, which is September 8th, 2020. You don't have to write 2020. I don't know why I wrote it, but you can just write 20. Okay, please do this quickly. And then open your book to page 70. So quickly write the title of these notes, this section of vocabulary, which is Our National Parks, and then today's date. And then open to page 70 in your textbook. Remember, we skipped this chapter, but I said we're going to come back to it because this is a shorter chapter, so it works better with only 4 days. Okay, I said to open to page 70 a while ago, and I still see a few people that have not opened to page 70, that have not even opened their book. We're on page 70. We're on page 70. So the page number in the bottom should be 70 on the left and 71 on the right. Please get there quickly. Okay, so the title of this, so make sure that your chair is scooted in so that you can sit up straight. And the title of this chapter is Our National Parks. So obviously we're going to be talking about national parks. Now, I'm going to read the talk about it. You can be thinking about your answer while I read it. We're just going to think about it. National parks are wonderful places. What things could you learn about at a national park? Carla, what things could you learn about at a national park?
The animals.
The animals. Good. You could learn about the animals whose natural habitat is in that national park. Anything else? What else could you learn? Zari?
Maybe about how does it rain a lot? You can tell.
So you could learn about the climate, what the climate is like. That's the weather. Good. Victoria? The history, how it became a national park, or the history of the land, how the land became what it is. Like, how did the Grand Canyon start as a flat piece of land and end up as a massive canyon? Anything else? We'll take one more. Zadie, do you have something? You've had your hand up for a little while. What else?
About the kinds of animals they have.
Okay, well that's what Zari said, but yes, like the kind of animals. Good. Okay, so yes, you can learn all kinds of things at a national park. You can learn about the climate. It wasn't Zari, but somebody said animals. Zari said climate. You can learn about what the weather is like in that place. You can learn about the history of people there, how it became a national park. You can learn about the history of the land, how it got to where it looks like it does now. About animals that are there, plants that are there, all kinds of things. Okay, go ahead and turn the page to page 72. And let's go ahead. We have 5 words for this one. So, Michaela, you'll get the first 3. Victoria, you'll get the last 2. So as we're writing, make sure you make a little note, like put a star or something next to your words. Michaela, you'll have numbers 1, 2, and 3. Victoria, you'll have numbers 4 and 5. Okay, so number 1 is the word roam. Roam. Make sure you are writing as I'm speaking. Not waiting until I'm done. So Michaela, this is your word, so you're going to want to put a little star next to it. Okay, the first word is roam. R-O-A-M. Roam is a verb. That means it's an action. It means to move around with no purpose. So it means you're moving around, but you don't really have a reason or a purpose for doing that. You're just kind of roaming. You don't know exactly where to go or what to do, so you're just moving around. Looking, maybe thinking along the way, you'll figure out what you're supposed to do. Yes, Victoria?
Like when you're doing your homework and suddenly you just want to do food.
Yes, you're just roaming. You're not really hungry. You're not really going for a snack. You're just hoping that maybe that little trip will give you an answer or a purpose. Okay, so in context, large herds of buffalo once roamed the prairies. Sometimes the word in context will be slightly different. In this case, I just added an ed, which means I'm saying it already happened. It happened in the past. But our base word is still roam. R-O-A-M. It is a verb or an action, and it means to move around with no purpose. Let's see. Make sure that you are spelling the word correctly. Make sure you are spelling the part of speech correctly. And make sure you are spelling all the words in the definition correctly. If you cannot see how the word is spelled because of a glare or because I have combined the letters in a partial cursive that you're just like, what did she write? Please raise your hand and ask me. Okay, don't raise it like this to where I can barely see. Make sure you raise it high so that I can quickly answer your question. Please don't raise hands and ask about anything else so that we can move through this quickly. Just clarifying what a word is. Kingston?
So at first I was going to ask about why'd you say roam instead of roam?
Yes. Okay, so make sure you're asking questions right now, clarifying the spelling of words so that we can get through this quickly and finish our lesson. Number 2, Michaela, this is your word 2, so make sure that you also put a little star next to that. But yes, I am going to give you, even though the vocabulary word might be in a different form, I'm going to give it to you in its present tense singular form. So that means it's happening now, and there's only one. Present tense singular. I will not change it. I will not put past tense, which means ed, or I will not add ing, and I will take off the s's. I will make it present tense and singular. But sometimes you will see it in past tense or plural, which means past tense means it already happened, plural means more than one in your text. But it means the same exact thing. Ed just means it already happened. S or es at the end means more than one of it is happening. Okay, next word is complete. Complete. C-O-M-P-L-E-T-E. Complete. Complete in this case is a verb. We see it a lot as an adjective or describing words, a complete piece of paper, which means you're describing it as full, done, whatever. But in this case, we're using it as a verb, which means to finish. Complete is a verb. It means it's another action, and it means to finish. In context, I completed my scrapbook after our trip. I added ed in that word in context, so that means when did it happen? Colin? If I added ed to the word in context, when did it happen?
It happened in the past.
It happened in the past. It already happened. Complete. C-O-M-P-L-E-T-E It is a verb that means to finish. Number 3, Michaela, this is your last word, so make sure to put another star. And it is the word journey. 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 Journey is a noun. So that means it's a person, place, thing, or idea. In this case, it's a thing because it is a long trip. Yes, Zadie.
When you spell journey, I can't spell if there's an I or an N or just an I.
No, it's Journey. Sometimes there's little spaces on this board that are like, there's like a dip, like it's been torn or something, and so I can't erase. So that means, dry erase that was there a long time ago is still there. So it's journey, Journey, which is a noun, in this case a thing, and it is a long trip. Yes, Victoria?
They're also spelled in the book.
What? They are spelled in the book, but sometimes remember I may take off an ED or an S or something like that. So do make sure, if you can tell that it's in the book and it's spelled exactly the same way, okay. But if you're not quite sure, still always don't worry about asking. Just make sure you're staying on topic. Okay, so in context, she went on a journey to Alaska. Journey, again, is Journey. It is a noun, in this case a thing, and it is a long trip. Okay, number 4, Victoria, this is yours. So make sure you put a little star next to it. Michaela, no more stars. Number 4 is the word natural. Natural. Make sure you're paying attention to how it's spelled because you hear the ch sound, but there is no CH. Natural. Natural. The reason you hear ch is because a lot of times when you have a T and a U in the middle of a word, it makes that T sound like ch. Natural. Natural is an adjective. Make sure you're spelling the word adjective correctly. It is adjective, not adjective. Natural, Natural, is an adjective. That means it is a describing word. You would use natural to describe what something is or what it looks like or whatever. And it means something is made by nature. And then we have a second part to the definition. So we put a comma, and then the second part to the definition, which is not artificial. You may hear sh, but there's no SH because a C and an I in the middle of a word makes the sh sound. Artificial, excuse me, is a synonym for fake. So if it's natural, it means it was made by nature, and it is not fake. What base word do you see in natural that you also see in the definition? What base word, that means what smaller word do you see inside natural that is also in the definition? Kingston? Nature. So you see the base word nature. That means that natural must have something to do with nature. And does it, Kingston? Yes. It means something is made by nature. It is not artificial. So in context, cotton is a natural fabric. So that has to mean, is cotton made in nature or do people make it? If it's natural, is it made in nature or do people make it? Michaela? If it's natural, does that mean it is made in nature or that people make it? Victoria? It's made in nature because the definition for natural is made in nature. So if we're saying that something is natural, like cotton, that means it was made in nature, not made by people. Okay, number 5. Oh, in context. No, we already said that. Number 5 is the word wildlife. Wildlife. W-I-L-D-L-I-F-E. Victoria, this is also one of your words, so make sure to put a star. Wildlife. Wildlife, if you cover up the word life, you have the word wild. Is that a word all by itself? Zadie?
Yes.
Yes. If I cover up wild, then I have life. Is that a word all by itself? Ethan?
Yes.
Yes. So wildlife is one word that is made up of 2 smaller words. What are those words called? Michaela? Compound words. When you take 2 smaller words and you combine them into one larger word, you have a compound word. Usually, knowing the meaning of each of those small words tells you what the big word means, because wild means found in nature. Life means something that is alive. So if you put wild and life together, you get something that is alive that lives in nature. And that's what wildlife means, because wildlife is a noun. In this case, a thing. And it is animals living in their natural environment. Is that what we figured out based at looking at the meaning of wild and life? We were talking about wild is found in nature, life is living things. We put that together for living things, living in the wild, living in nature. Is that what animals living in their natural environment means? Yes. Animals, living things, living in their natural environment, so out in nature. In context, the growth of cities puts wildlife in danger. Because once cities are there, is it natural anymore? Did nature make the buildings and the houses and the roads and the mailboxes and the cars and all that, Zadie?
No.
No. Okay. That's it. Go ahead and close your vocabulary notebooks and put them to the side. I will leave this up. So everybody should be looking at page 72. And we're going to go ahead and read together. This skill that we're working on in this chapter is main idea and supporting details. So we're going back to main idea and supporting details. Where can you usually look in a paragraph to find the main idea? Where can you look? Where's the first place you can look and when you're trying to figure out the main idea of a paragraph? Zadie?
The first sentence.
The first sentence. Now, is that always the main idea? Carla?
Not always.
Not always. Sometimes it may be later in the paragraph. Sometimes you may have to take more than one sentence and put it together to create the main idea. So what we're going to do is we're going to read this story. And as we go, we are going to fill out a main idea and supporting detail chart on the board. You do not have this. That's okay. You're just following along as I do it. While we're waiting, I'm going to, as we read, we're going to be looking for more main ideas and supporting details for some of these paragraphs. Not all of them, but for some of them. So, you need to be looking. Now, in this case, we might not always find it as the first sentence. We may have to combine sentences. We may have to look further into the paragraph. We might not always see it in the very first sentence, but the more you work with it, the easier it is to figure out the main idea, even when it's not stated right away. So go ahead and read the title of this passage, Michaela. Loud and slow. Move your arm so that, because if your arm is here, it's blocking your voice from some people. So when we read this word, it has a prefix. P-R-E is a prefix that always sounds like pre. So, Michaela, we have the prefix P-R-E, which sounds like pre. His. No, don't say the S again. We already said the S in his. Tor. I see would just be. How would you say I see? Who can help her out? Zadie? It. So we have pre, his, tor, it. Put it all together and you have what word, Michaela? Prehistoric. Okay, so go ahead and start with the title again. A prehistoric park. Pre is a prefix that means before. So if pre means before, then before history means prehistoric happened before written history. Okay.
More than 200 million years ago, dinosaurs roamed freely over the earth. Have you ever wondered what the land was like or what kind of trees were there?
Slow down, Erin.
What kind of trees there were then? You can see some of these trees today in Arizona. Throughout 28 miles of desert.
Slower.
Throughout 28 miles of desert and petrified forest national park, you can see 225 million year old fossils.
Louder.
Fossil trees. Visitors are amazed to see these trees that have turned to stone.
So let's look at that paragraph. We learned the first sentence is often the main idea of a paragraph. But is that true for that paragraph that Erin just read? Is that first sentence of that paragraph, more than 200 million years ago, dinosaurs roamed freely over the earth? Is that the main idea of that paragraph? Zadie?
No.
No. Did any of the other sentences say anything about dinosaurs? Class?
No.
No. The main idea has to be what the paragraph is about. Well, in this case, it's not what the first sentence says because there's nothing to do with dinosaurs. Sometimes there isn't a single sentence in a paragraph that's the main idea. So, like I said, remember I said earlier, sometimes there isn't a sentence that you can just copy as the main idea. Sometimes you have to combine sentences to create a main idea. So if we look at that paragraph, we would kind of think of all the details and then summarize them in one sentence. So the main idea of that sentence could be, when in Petrified Forest National Park, you can see what trees were like when dinosaurs lived there. So I took the first sentence and the rest of the sentences and I combined them to make my new main idea sentence. People can see what trees were like when the dinosaurs were alive at Petrified Forest National Park. Do we see this exact sentence in any of those sentences of that first paragraph? Do we see this exact word for word sentence? Class, come on. Do we see this sentence in that paragraph? No. But if we take those supporting details, we can come up with this. So somebody give me one supporting detail from that sentence. Now supporting details may be word for word this exact sentence. What is one supporting detail that supports this main idea? Zari?
More than 2 million years ago, dinosaurs roamed freely over the earth.
Does that tell us, does that give us a clue that you can see what trees were like when dinosaurs were alive? Does that support this really, or is it just mentioning something that happened?
It's just
So would that be a good supporting detail, Zari?
No.
No. So please think of that before you raise your hand. Don't just raise your hand right away and say the first thing that comes to your mind. You've got to think about your answer first. So please think about your answer and then tell me one supporting detail from that paragraph that supports this main idea. Zadie?
You can see 225 million old fossil trees.
Good. So one supporting detail is in, we'll say PFNP for Petrified Forest National Park. You can see 225 million year old trees. And we know who was alive 225 million years ago. Zadie?
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. Good. And that's really probably the most important supporting detail. Anything else? Does anybody else see something that says what they were like? Look at that last sentence. Zari?
Over time, the materials. Hold up, sorry.
Okay.
Visitors are amazed to see these trees have turned to stone.
So, what's a supporting detail that we can pull out of that rather than just writing that exact same sentence? What can we say? What happened to the trees, Zari?
These trees have turned to stone.
So, the trees have turned to stone. Now, the conclusion that I can draw from that is that's why they're not dying and rotting and disappearing. I mean, they're not alive anymore, but usually when a tree dies, it falls over, and then eventually it rots away. The bugs eat away at it, the decay, the fungus, whatever, eats away at it. So because the trees have basically turned to stone, that is why they are still there for us to see what it looked like when dinosaurs were alive. So those are two important supporting details that support this main idea. This is how we know dinosaurs were still alive. This is why we can still see what it looked like. Okay, go ahead and read next. Zari, loud and slow. Make sure you're not skipping words. Please do not skip words. Read the next block of text. Now the next block of text continues onto the next column.
How did it happen? Millions of years ago, water filled with materials.
Not materials. Go slow.
Materials.
It's not materials.
Minerals flowed into the area. Over time, the
Not
minerals
Nope.
sped.
Sorry, where's the P? The P comes after those double E's, so it's not sp. It's
speeded.
sorry, where the P does not come before those E's. The P comes after the E's.
Sped.
Sorry. How do you say that word?
C.
C.
Ed.
So, C, P, ed.
Seeped.
Well, you added extra ed. So this is what you said, seep, ed, dead. But if you have ed at the end of a word, what is this word?
Seep.
Seep. If you have ed at the end of a word that's a verb, it's just seeped.
Seeped.
But listen to what I just said. When you have ed at the end of a verb like seep, it's just duh. So seep, duh. What is that word?
Seeped.
Seeped. There you go. Keep going. Read that sentence again. Over time.
Over time, the minerals be spent.
No, you just read that word. The P is not here.
Seeped.
This is how you would say sped. S-P-E-D. But it's the word what? Seeped.
Over time, the minerals seeped into fallen trees and turned them into rock-hard logs.
Keep going. So that's how this happened. The trees turned into the trees turned into stone because water filled with minerals, which minerals are what make up rocks, seeped into the trees and turned them into rock. Keep going.
Some of these logs are 100 feet long. Today, they create a colorful and amazing sight in Arizona's desert. The petrified logs look like wooden rainbows. The colors range from red to yellow to green to blue and black and white.
Good. So now let's look at that paragraph. It starts with how did it happen and ends with the sentence Zari just read. It's just split into two columns, but it's one paragraph. Is the main idea how did it happen? Is the main idea how did it happen? Does that tell us what happened at all in a paragraph? No.
No.
So it definitely can't be the first sentence here. Is it the second sentence? Millions of years ago, water filled with minerals flowed into the area. Is it the second sentence? Is the whole entire paragraph about water filling with minerals flowing into the area? Is that what the whole entire paragraph is about? Even the second part of the paragraph? No, it's not. Because the second part of the paragraph that goes into the next column, remember that's the same paragraph, just because it's on a new column. Do you see a space before the first word at the top of the second column? No, that means it's the same paragraph. Is the second part of the paragraph about the water seeping into the area? Is the second part of the paragraph about water filling with minerals flowing into the area? Zadie?
No.
No. The first part is about the water, but the second part is about what? The second part of that paragraph is about what? Aaron?
The logs and how they turn rock hard and the colorful and the color.
So what they look like. The second part is about what they look like. Is there any sentence in this paragraph that says both things? This is how it happened. This is what they look like. Is there any one sentence that tells both of those things in that paragraph? The answer's not here. Where's the answer? In your book. Is there one sentence that says how the logs became stone and what they look like? Is there one sentence? Look at the book. Is there one sentence in that paragraph that says, this is how they became stone, this is what they look like in one sentence? Carla?
Yes.
Is there? What is it?
Today they create a colorful and amazing set.
Does that tell us how it happened?
No.
No? So can that be our main idea? So is there a sentence in this paragraph that says how they became petrified and what they look like in one sentence? Cullen?
No.
No. So what does that mean? Can we take our main idea from this paragraph?
No.
What do we have to do?
We have to take sentences and combine them.
So we have to summarize what this paragraph is saying in one sentence. Who thinks that they can summarize what this paragraph is saying in one sentence? First of all, why are they rocks? Why are they rocks? Loud and slow. Why are they rocks? Or just tell us loudly. Pull your mask down here so that we can hear you. Why are they rocks?
The trees are rocks because minerals flowing in water into a tree.
Good. So the minerals went into the fallen trees and turned them to rocks. What are those called when we see like pictures or what things looked like in rock from a long, 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 long time ago? What are those? Starts with an F. Kingston? Fossils. So what are these trees now? What are these petrified trees, Kingston? Fossils. So in order to say that they turn to rock, we only need to use one word. What is that one word, Kingston? Fossils. So we can start our sentence by saying, the trees are fossils, but now we need to add more information to our sentence to cover the rest of the paragraph. So, Smith, what can you add to the trees are fossils to talk about what the second part of the paragraph says?
We can say, the trees are fossils with colors that range from red to yellow to green to blue and black and white.
Good. So the trees are fossils with, and in order to not use a supporting detail as part of my main idea, I can see the trees are fossils with many colors. Or some form of that sentence. I could say, the colorful trees are fossils, whatever. But there's my main idea. So somebody give me one supporting detail from that paragraph that says, that fits with this main idea. Somebody give me one supporting detail. The answer's not anywhere in the room other than right in front of you. The answer is nowhere else in the room other than right in front of you. Carla, what's one supporting detail?
One supporting detail is, today they create a beautiful and amazing sight in the eroding desert.
Carla, you've got to make sure that you read all the words that are there. You read a couple words that are not there. But is that more of an opinion or is that a fact? Who can help her out? Is that more of an opinion or a fact? Zari?
An opinion.
An opinion. Because what's beautiful and amazing to one person, is it going to be beautiful and amazing to every single person, Zari?
No.
No. So when we're picking supporting details, we need to make sure that we're picking sentences that are facts, not opinions. So Carla, that is true, but it's not really a fact. We need to find a sentence that has good facts and details. So, who can come up with a supporting detail sentence? Zadie.
Colors range from red to yellow to green to blue and black and white.
Okay, so that can be our first one. Smith, that's why I wanted to say many colors instead so that we could use that sentence as a supporting detail. So the colors range from what?
Red.
From red to
Yellow.
From red to yellow to
Green.
keep going.
Blue. And black and white.
So the colors range from red to yellow to green to blue to black to what? So that supports the second part of our main idea, the many colors. Now I need a supporting detail that supports the first part of our main idea. Colin.
Over time, the minerals sipped into
What is this word, Colin? But we don't say seeped, we say seeped.
into fallen trees and turned them into rock-hard logs.
Good, but is that kind of enough over time? The minerals. Well, where did that come from? Could we take both of those sentences, millions of years ago, water filled with minerals flowed into the area, and over time the minerals seeped into fallen trees and turned them into rock-hard logs? Could we take both of those sentences and put them together into one shorter, easier to say and write sentence?
No. No.
Why not? Why couldn't we? Do we have to have every single one of those words in both of those sentences in order for it to make sense?
No.
No. So how can we take those two sentences and combine them into one shorter, easier to say and write sentence? If you can think of a way, then you can raise your hand and volunteer. How can you take those two sentences, millions of years ago, water filled with minerals flowed into the areas, and over time the minerals seeped into fallen logs and turned them into rock-hard logs? How can we put those both together to create one supporting detail sentence that is shorter, easier to read, and easier to say or write? Sorry? Some of you are just, I don't even know what you're doing because you're not with us.
Millions of years ago, water filled minerals.
Not filled minerals, but filled.
Filled.
It's not filled minerals, it's filled. Come on, Zari. We gotta go.
Materials.
It's not materials. You said filled minerals. It's not filled minerals, it's filled.
Filled with minerals that flow in the area.
Does that combine it with the second sentence at all, or did you just reread the first sentence? Zadie, what can we say?
Millions of years ago, water filled up with minerals. Minerals seeped into the fallen trees.
It's not the word sept. We've said it like a million times. See? D.
Step.
See? D.
Seep.
Seeped. But you're changing it into two sentences. Look, listen. Millions of years ago, water filled with minerals flowed into the fallen trees and turned them into rock. Does that make sense? Please think about what I said. Does that make sense? Millions of years ago, water filled with minerals flowed over into the fallen trees and turned them into rock. Does that make sense? Is that easier to write and easier to say